Ever felt lost in your faith journey? You're not alone. Hello, beloveds. I'm Rachel Njogo. Welcome to Paving Way Community. Here we have open and honest conversations about faith, purpose, and relationships as Christians. No filters, just real people, real stories, real growth. Yeah, so let's get started. Guys, today I do have an amazing person. She's so talented. Yani, I don't want to say much about her because she wears a lot of hats. I just want her to introduce herself. Ska, the camera.
Okay.
Who are you? Can you introduce yourself to the people?
Hi, my name is Ska, or Ska Poetry. I am a poet and I write poetry about healing, community, identity, and faith. And my poetry just tries to bring together community to tell authentic stories and to walk with people the journeys that they normally walk alone. So it's like in those spaces where you're alone, I try to let my poetry be in those spaces with you. Yeah, I think we'll get to know more as we go, but that is who I am.
So can you say you're a healer?
Yeah, a lot of times I don't identify as a healer. Yeah, because when I was looking, I went through some discipleship class in a church, and I was looking, and I got that I have faith, like my gifts are faith, as well as encouraging, not healing, because healing is not one of the gifts, encouraging the church, basically. I forget what it's called. I will tell you, I will send you and then you'll put it on there.
So it's okay.
Yeah, but it's basically to speak life, to speak life into the church, to speak encouragement into them. So yes, I do identify as a healer. I think that I've gone through a lot of things in my life that have allowed me to find healing for myself, and in the process I have been able to also help other people find healing as well.
Yes, that's so good. So what is healing to me? Yeah,
healing for me is coming to a place where you accept yourself, you accept your life, you accept the hard things that have happened in your life, and then after that acceptance, you now find a place of love. Love for you, despite, because, within, regardless, like whatever conjunction you put there. Healing is facing everything you are, who you have been, who you want to become, like even the bad decisions, the good decisions, the aspirations you have, your body, your spiritual. It's facing who you are as an individual in your fullness. It's being authentic, like I like to call it radical honesty with yourself, that this is who I am, this is what I've been through, this is what I didn't like, this is what I liked. And then after still facing all of this, now coming to a place of love, honor, and respect for yourself.
So the first thing, acceptance, then you have a lot of love for yourself.
Yes.
Okay. And what are some of the scenarios that you use to bring about healing?
Like I said, I write a lot. So I also read a lot. I listen to music a lot. So healing for me has come through all those things. Oh my God, I read a lot. And I remember there was a time I was literally obsessed with Psalms, because I felt like, you know, when God says that David is a man after his own heart, and I used to feel like if David is the person that God says is a man after his own heart, that I used to relate so much with David. I'm like, you know what, now me, I'm someone also like David. And I used to love the Psalms because they used to complain, and then they would encourage, and then they would uplift, and then they would get angry, you know, and be like, why have you forsaken me? I will not eat. I'm going to fast until my child is well. And then the child is well, and the child dies. He doesn't get better, and then he's like, you know what? Fine, I'll be happy. And I think for me, the story of David really. So one of the things I read a lot was the Psalms during that time, and I think the story of David for me was very realistic. Was very like I could see anyway, this is me going through life, just as it was David going through life. He has ups, he has downs, he stumbles, he has the thing with Bathsheba, and then he thinks nobody noticed, and then all of a sudden here's a prophet coming to tell you, no, God saw. It's just, I think for me it was the complexity of life. So I read a lot of Psalms. I was inspired very much by the story of David. And I also wrote a lot. I remember there was even a time my poetry used to resemble like the Psalms.
Wow.
I would write the way he writes. I would complain, lament. And then at the end I would like console my heart and just say, be still, you know, after all, I have confidence. Like I know that I know that I know that I know. You know? Yeah, so
for you, if you're ever to go to heaven, where you'll just look for David.
Saul. Because Saul, okay, Saul, Paul.
Why Saul?
Because he's also
Paul.
Oh, yeah, Paul, Saul.
New Testament.
Yeah, because he's also one of those people like I'm like, hey bro, but what were you about? Yeah, I think like sometimes we forget that most of the epistles he wrote them when he was in prison, he wrote them when he was running away, he wrote them when he was like being jailed by the Romans or being held for his own protection. And those Psalms are so like, and no, the epistles that he wrote are so, they're so uplifting, and they're so convicted. And so when you're going through them, you would not believe that was his situation. I remember when now, like I said, one of the things I read a lot, so I started reading about the historical times that these disciples were in, like their life apart from what they've written. Yes. I think for me it helps me to see them as individuals, to see them as people, and to recognize that as much as they're now saints, while the book was being written, it was just Rachel living her life. It was just David living his life. So I tried to also research and analyze and find out who they were like in real life and now relate it. So that's when I found out that he was like in prison. He had to stay like in Rome for so many years. There was even a point like he was, you know, when he writes and he says, my heart longs to come to you. You know, when you're reading that epistles, you're like, oh, he wants to come. So it's like, no mother is not coming, brother is in prison. And the other person would be John. Because I felt like when I read, I write to you, little children. Like I feel, you know, the way they say he was the most loved. And so I feel like even in his writing, you can see it. Like you can see the thing that he held the most from Christ, the thing that he experienced the most was love. You can see it in the way he communicates, in the way he tries to speak to the church as he's speaking about Christ. It's like, it's not rules and regulations and all, it's just, oh, little children, you're loved. And I think I would like to experience that.
And what about Revelation when he wrote about the end?
The end time.
How did you perceive that?
I perceive that as like, to be honest, I've not interacted with it a lot, but also at the same time, the knowledge that I have of it, I perceive it as like a revelation that he got. It's not necessarily a statement on his relationship with Christ. I find that John is the one, like when he writes, is the one that he's writing about his relationship with Christ. Like you can see it, but in Revelation, it's like now he's in his cup as a prophet, he's in his cup as an apostle.
Whatever he encountered.
Yeah, whatever. Like now he stopped being the guy who was Jesus' friend, and he's become the guy who is like had power and dominion and access. So I feel like there are different aspects of him.
Okay. So to you, what is heart?
I think heart is I want to say all the things that encompass heart, like betrayal, feeling less, but I think at the essence, heart is your trust being broken. For me, I think at the essence, anytime you are hurt is because there was trust, there was love, there was relationship, and now it has been broken or it's been betrayed. So I think for me, that's what hurt is. Whether it's like from a close person or just a position, someone who has authority over you. Like, it doesn't need to be friends. I trusted this friend and then they broke my trust. It can also be I was under your authority as a teacher, and you broke that trust of authority that you had over me. So it's like, yeah, I think that's how I would define it as.
So for you, what's the power of inner healing?
My God, for me, the power of inner healing is, oh my God, I think first and foremost, I think it's the most powerful thing. I believe as we are within, so we become outside, right? True. Everything starts from inside. Even God tells us, like, don't concentrate on the outside, concentrate on your heart, your intent, right? And Ebu asked me the question again.
What's the power of inner healing?
I think once you become at peace with yourself inside, once, like, you remember when I said at the beginning, for me, healing is facing who you are truly, 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 no lies, and becoming comfortable with that person, and then now learning to love that person until it reaches a point where you love that person without having to learn, like it no longer becomes a conscious effort. So for me, the power of inner healing is that once you're truly at peace with yourself and everything that you are, like inside of you, the turmoils, once you're even at peace with the questions that you ask, because you know, I think people think when we say when you're at peace yourself, you have to be still. It doesn't mean necessarily you have to be still, like I'm no longer asking questions. It's that I'm okay even with the questions that I'm asking. I'm okay with knowing that sometimes there will be doubt. I'm okay with knowing that sometimes there will be pain. I'm okay with, I think when you come to that place of truly healing inside and being at peace with who you are and with the world and everything that it is, I think you just, I don't even know how to describe it. Oh no, you, it's like you have, you know that I have overcome the world. Like, you know that you know that you know that you know that you know. And I don't know.
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it.
It's in your heart, and you are content. Truly, like it does not matter whether you go up, whether you go down. It does not matter. Like you trust, and also, you know, you become more aware of the power that God has put in you. The power to speak things, the power the power to create, the power to choose relationships, the power to, like, you stop being, life stops happening to you, and you create for yourself the life that you want. And also in knowing yourself, because part of inner healing is knowing the true version of you, you know, the one that is not trying to show up for society, the one who's not trying, like, putting up airs for society. When you know that true person, then you know the true purpose, you know the things, the gifts that God has given you, and you end up just using them in alignment truly. Like for me, I worked corporate, but even when I was working, like working 9 to 5, I was always either in an NGO or something that is trying to give back to community. And then one day I sat with myself and I said, you know what, I want my poetry to do for me, to do for the world what it has been doing for me. But when I sat down with myself and I said that, I'm telling you, Rachel, sometimes I look back and I'm like, I don't understand what has happened. And it was at that moment, it was such a difficult decision to quit a job that, you know, is at the end of the day, you know what's gonna happen at the end of the month, you know you're getting this, you're doing this, but it just felt like, yes, it's in alignment, but it's like 30% in alignment, because at the end of the day, I am helping, I am giving back. But the moment I like shifted and became okay with the things that I learned in myself in that season, because I had like a season of isolation, the moment I became okay with everything that I learned then, and I became okay with that responsibility, then I started working towards it. I'm telling you, things would just open, and things would open, and I'd find myself like in places where I had always longed to be, but I'd never even thought, how will I get there? Because I was working in true purpose and in true alignment, because I'd also allowed myself to truly heal and therefore truly become
the person
that God and is it intended for me to be, you know?
Priska, as you're speaking, I actually remember the time that you decided to leave Nairobi and to go back to
Narrow.
I also remembered the story of Naaman when he had a dreaded skin disease, and his servant reached out to Elisha, and Elisha actually told him, "You have to move from where you are and go to River Jordan, and again you dip yourself from there in order for you to be healed." So, can you say that for healing requires also change of environment?
Yes, and it requires leaps of faith. Because you change of environment. What's happening one day, my God? Because after that season of isolation that I was talking about, it was immediately after finishing campus. Not immediately, but it was the year like when I was in my last year of campus, and now after. And I'm telling you, I had such a change of environment. Because then you see, when you're already surrounded by the people who surround you, these people already influence you. So when you're trying to go back to yourself, to the real authentic you, these influences, like the people around you kind of still have to measure up to their idea of who you are. So even as you're trying to figure out, okay, but who am I really? You have this pressure of being who they already know you as. And I think for me, it was also a gift that God gave me, that season would happen immediately when I was finishing campus. Therefore, it means that I wasn't as around the same environment as before. I wasn't around the same people, I wasn't around the same friends, and the people I was reaching out to were like intentional people who I knew like they would understand the journey I was on, and they would uplift me in that journey, and they would help me. But also when you're speaking about me deciding to go back to Narok, I think that was also part of the journey, because I knew I couldn't afford to live in Nairobi if I quit my job. Like, because
it's a woman.
You know what? I've decided I'm going to face this. I'm going to do this, but at the same time, even as you make decisions, you have to be realistic. You know, we don't just live in the spiritual; we live in the physical as well. And you've been entailed with enough knowledge to make sure that even as you're pursuing your spiritual purpose, like your physical life doesn't get disarrayed. And so I was like, you know what? It's a good decision to move to a place where the expenses are cheaper and everything, and I will still have my own space to create my content. And it is at this time that my TikTok really started growing, you know. Yeah, I would wake up and I find every day I have a new 1,000 followers. I'm like, hey, whoa, what do you mean?
Let me tell you, you know, there was a day I was in our office. Then I don't know, I was just viewing IG stories for people. Then I actually saw Joy Candy. Maybe. And I lost her. And I was so happy.
I remember that you're actually one of the people. I was sent that by two people. I didn't even know about it. So you and another person are the ones who sent me. And I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. And then I went and I had like a mini conversation with her, and I was like, I'm the poet. And then she even actually posted later and gave me credits. It's been an amazing journey sincerely. I think I'm so glad that I decided to take it. It got off script, but I feel like it's very relevant. This day I was at Acacia at a church called Dunamis, and this pastor was saying, today we are going to pray in the areas that you want God to show His glory in. Like God has got you. He's got your whole life. But I want you to point the specific areas where you're like, God, glorify yourself. Glorify yourself. Like, isikuwe just normal, watu waonange, I'm okay. Let it be something that everyone says, no, this is out of the ordinary. And I remember for me, I prayed for forgiveness, and I prayed for reconciliation, and I prayed for healing. I was like I said, background is I've had a very tumultuous life, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. And I think when you've gone through that, then it's expected that your life almost will always somehow resemble that. And I said, God, in these areas of pain, where there was so much hurt, I want you to show yourself, to show your glory in healing. Where there was so much hurt and pain, again, I want to even go an extra step and show your glory in reconciliation. Like, I don't just want to heal. I don't just want to forgive, but I want to show that it can go even a step further, that regardless of how much pain and hurt, you can reconcile, because that is what you came to do. And so I feel, I haven't even thought of that night a lot, but I feel like Nakwambia, God was like, silence. Because there was even a girl who posted, who texted me on TikTok after they had my poem about mothers, and it's a poem that tries to articulate the hurt that sometimes Black girls go through at the hands of their mothers. And also, while articulating that, but like saying this is what the hurt that I received, it also tries to say at the same time I acknowledge that you were my parent and doing the best. So it's like trying to bring again reconciliation. And this girl texted me on TikTok and she was like, you know what, you may have just healed the rift between me and my mom. I haven't spoken to my mom in I don't know how long, but after listening to your poem, I am going to reach out. And she even went ahead and told me, please send me a pay bill or an M-Pesa. I need to like remove, I would call it an offering, but that's another one. She was like, I just need to.
Pastor Priska. It's good, Pastor Priska.
But she was like, I really just need to. I need to say it in more than words. You know, I need to tell you in more than words just how much this poem has changed for me. And so I think then came the thing that I prayed for God. Like I was like, show yourself glorious in healing and reconciliation and in forgiveness. And I think God went and did even more, that He didn't just show it in my life, He allowed me to also show that glory in other people's lives as well. Like in this area, when I am around you in that area, you will receive healing, you will receive reconciliation, and you will receive forgiveness for yourself and for those around you as well.
Your healing brought a lot of blessing to.
Yeah, it did. It's brought blessing to my family. It's brought blessing to myself. Sometimes to people I feel you don't know. Even to people I don't know. God has been good.
Now, how can somebody know that he or she has been healed?
How can somebody know that? I think you feel it in the lightness of your heart. You feel it in the lightness.
That's so deep.
Yeah, you feel it in the lightness of your heart. I don't know how to say it. When you're in pain, you know you're in pain. So when you're not in pain, trust me, you will know that the pain is ebbing. You will know that the pain is ebbing. Like it doesn't happen overnight. And there's this thing you told me, and I don't know if you would remember, but I live with it. We were at the first meeting, I think, of Paving Way, and you said, forgive. And when you remember, forgive again. And I don't know how many times I've repeated those words for myself. Like when I'm in a hard place or in a tough place, I tell myself it's okay to remember. Because that's the thing, I think with Christians also, we expect that when we forgive, Nivo story I should never have to remember this, because I was like, your time when I was forgiving that person, I was really honest. So when you remember that thing that person did, you feel almost guilty, because you're like, that's really here. Why am I thinking about this now? It's forgive, and when you remember, forgive again. And when you remember,
pray for the person. No, there's one thing nowadays I normally do. If I remember the second time, I pray.
You pray for the person now. So it's just, I think, because your heart gets easier. Yeah. Your heart gets lighter. And, I think even your life changes.
Yeah. True.
Your life changes. You become, there's one of my poems I said, one of my goals is to forgive as effortlessly as I laugh. The way someone would say a joke, and you don't have to think about it before you laugh. So I want, even when I'm offended, I don't have to think about it before I forgive. I just, the way I would laugh at a joke is the way I would forgive a mistake or an offense. And I think, to go back to your question again, tangents, right? Because your heart becomes lighter. Because it will be so evident in your life. It will be so evident in your life. It will be evident in your relationships. It will be evident in the way you move. It will be evident in the things you do. But more than anything, it will be evident in your relationship with yourself as well.
And you will walk lighter.
And you will walk lighter. You will walk lighter. You will walk lighter. one of the prayers that I was praying during that time of healing, and of course I'm still healing because there are things that are deeper, and then sometimes you find out, oh, kumbe
bado. But then they know you have which attachment style.
Alright, secure. Very nice. Like right now it's secure.
Hey, anxious.
Secure, but
Anxious.
So it was a bit disorganized. Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying before? The anxious attachment style.
Working lighter.
Working lighter, and I wanted to tell you that one of the things that I also learned in that season of healing and isolation is God was telling me, when I give you something, don't hold it like this. Hold it like this. So when I require that thing of you, you just let it go. Or when that thing stops being meaningful for you, or when the season for that is over. Because also a lot of hurt comes from loving things that do not have capacity to love us back. Or they cannot show up for us in the way that we are showing up for that thing, especially in relationships.
True.
And so God was teaching me, when I give you something, I'm a good God. So trust that if I've given you this good thing, of course I will give you another thing that is even better than that. So learn to hold things lightly. Learn to hold things like this. And it's not to say that you don't appreciate them. It's just that this I was given by God. I will love it, I will cherish it, but I will hold it lightly. And if ever it should be required of me, let my hands also be easy to open and release that thing. So one of the things I also learned about walking lightly is that when you're holding things lightly, it's easier to forgive, it's easier to appreciate, it's easier to notice, even to be grateful, because you understand that iki tu si must hapo, si must goda kwa amenipe, and you hold it in a way that is like giving glory to God, but at the same time saying, should you ever require this of me, I will let it go. I will release.
And also, during the time for redirection, it will be much easier for you to okay, God, you want me to go like this.
Like, okay, what's up today? Yeah.
Okay, I've actually learned a lot. I've learned healing brings a lot of restoration.
So much.
And also, if you want healing, first just accept the situation that you're in. And
I think with acceptance, I would also add honesty. Not just honesty with yourself, but honesty with God. There's this story about Hannah, Mama Samuel. Mama Samuel. There's a preacher who interpreted it for me in a way that it's never been interpreted before. And they said, that thing where they used to go to the temple and pray, they did it every year. But Hannah was the loved wife by Eli. So as much as she did not have the children, she was the loved one. And she was saying, in his understanding, maybe she kept up that posture of, you might have the children, but I'm the loved wife. I'm the one who's, and that's enough for me. And then this one day, akasema, you know what, God, it's actually not enough. I'm tired. And so she came to a place of radical honesty with God. Like not trying when you're hurt or wounded, not trying to cover up that when you go into the presence of God. She was even to the extent that the priest would say, hey, this one is this one is done. So that's the place of honesty that she was at, like tearing her heart before God. And that's when God did something about it. Because there was so much honesty and you're like, no, God, this is who I actually am. This is where I actually am. These are the things that pain me. These are the things I'm finding hard to let go of. These are the wounds I don't even understand why you would let them happen. When you get to that place of absolute honesty with God, it also becomes a place of absolute intimacy. And
a lot of submission.
It's like now God is like, okay, I don't know how God is like, but in my experience, it's like finally you have come to me in openness and also with the understanding that you have no power to change this thing, but I do, and that you have also, it shows like ultimate trust to say, I will no longer I will no longer try to hide my scars or my wounds or whatever. I will come to you as I am.
Yeah.
And I think when you start to restore that trust with God, then He also restores that trust with you. And then in the process, now you restore even the trust with the world and with the people around you. Of course, with discernment always. But you just become, when your trust is restored at your core with God, I think it's easier. Even in the world, it's easier in relationships because then everything starts to mirror that relationship. Everything else in your life starts to mirror the trust that you have restored with God. Yeah,
true. That's true. There's a quote I read somewhere, and it was saying that your relationships with other people, it's a mirror of how your relationship with God is. So let's say you're not communicating to God during your isolation time. Do you think you'll be communicating to
your friends, like to your community? No. Yeah. So,
healing.
Yeah.
Healing. The power of inner healing. And guys, you've come to the end of the episode. Scar, thank you so much for coming.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of. Let me say.
What about this one?
I might be talking about healing, but you've also been one of the instruments that God has used in my life.
Oh.
And this community as well, you know, and I think I said after telling my I said all the time that there's this preaching that what's her name?
Stephanie. Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah texted and she said, I know that I am loved because I see the community, the sisters that God prepared for me.
Yeah.
Like every time I see this sister, I know that God had to have been thinking of me when He created her. And I use this story a lot, but maybe you've not heard it from me. But when we were in campus, we were in campus together, guys.
Yeah, we were.
when we were in campus, I ended up in my room B103 by mistake because I was
you were in B103.
Yeah, I was in B103. I wasn't. Pendo wasn't there. Let me tell you the story. No, God has so much intentionality and attention to detail. So I was in B103, but I ended up in B103 by mistake because I came to school late. And my wing, journalism has like their own wing. So journalism wing ilikuwa imejaa. So I ended up in the hospitality wing. But God is so intentional about us to the extent that He put me at a hospitality wing. He put me in a room with a girl who was friends with another girl in Pendo's room. So now this girl used to come to our room, and in the process, that's how I met Pendo. And me and Pendo became really good friends. We're best friends still now. So we became best friends. And then after that, the other year, Pendo came and lived with you in B103. And you know, Pendo had been assigned another room. Uko upstairs, but she wasn't very comfortable because it was too high. And so in the process, I was like, you know what? See, we just, we were also, because we'd lived there a year before in the hostel, so we knew the situation. So we knew, like, our floor had water, it had, like, the washrooms used to get cleaned and stuff like that. So
but not during our time.
So we told each other, maybe we should just go and check B103, because it's only one flight of stairs. There's almost always water. And the washrooms get cleaned regularly. So we went to check B103 because that was the room I used to be in. And in the process, Pendo ended up staying.
And you know, during that day, you guys, the three of you, you came when I was alone in the room. Pendo left her phone there. Like, that's how much she just felt
safe. Exactly. Because that was a room we'd been in for a year. And I think now you and Pendo developed your own friendship. Then after Pendo went out of the country, but because you and Pendo were close, we developed a friendship that although it was not tight, it was there. But when you think about the things that God has allowed us to do,
and then, you know, let me tell you, I don't know why each and every single time it used to come into my mind. If I think of any project, Priska.
But imagine if we'd never met. And imagine the only reason we met is because God fashioned that all of us would pass through that room. Like that room was literally our convergence point. But you understand how minute a detail it is. But yet God knew that 2 years, 3 years after I graduate campus, I would be here on our podcast. And he intended that we should meet so that I would be here.
I actually didn't know I'll have a podcast. I knew I'll be a chef.
I think that
that's another story.
Yeah, but I think that's the other thing that I've come to learn. That in my experience with healing, I've understood how deeply loved I am by God, and that someone makes me think of you and makes me think that someone of I know that God, when He created Rachel, He thought of me and He thought about our Convergence Point. When He created Pendo, like He was intentionally creating community for me. Like that's how intentional He is. And every time I need to remember that I am loved, I look at all those small things that God has been doing that they're so small you would not even notice them. And then you sit down 8 years later, you're like, I would not be in this podcast if we had not met in that.
Yeah, true.
And that is the goodness of God. And that's the intentionality and the love that you come to see once you allow yourself to heal and restore that relationship, to restore that place of trust. And I wish that all of you would get to experience it, and you would allow yourself to be vulnerable and honest with God. And the more He says,
we went to the same discipleship.
Oh,
no. Okay. We had discipleship class on different years, like in the same place.
Walai?
For real.
I'm telling you the truth. I don't even know what I wanted to say before that, but heal and allow yourself to come to that place of truth and honesty with God and ultimate vulnerability, and allow yourself to be open and face the things that you don't want to face, because that's the thing. God cannot heal a wound in secret, and He cannot glorify a place in secret. If you want glory in that place, then glory doesn't happen in the secret. It happens in the world, it happens in the light.
Also, lighting up a lamp, you can put it under the table. You have to put it
up. So allow God to love you in the way He intended. And once you receive that love, mashallah.
So where can people reach you?
You can find me at Ska Poetry on TikTok, at Ska Poetry on Instagram, at Ska and Her Poetry on YouTube.
Facebook.
Generational gap.
Baby boomers.
I feel like YouTube is a convergence point. Everyone uses YouTube. The people looking for me on Facebook, just find me on YouTube.
So thank you so much for coming.
It was a pleasure.
And also, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. See you again in the next episode. Bye.